a friend of the show, former NFL quarterback, CFL star, and USC legend, Sean Salisbury, joining us. Hi, Sean.
Hi, how you doing in my own mind? Every time I come on, there's this introduction. You said dead air, and then Sean's coming on here. But listen to me, Dan. I have a particular set of skills. If you talk about my career and how bad it was, I will find you. I will kill you.
I thought you were sending me one of your CFL jerseys.
I am. You said you wanted the blue Grey Cup.
Yes.
It's in the process. And what I wanted over your right shoulder like a bird, that when it comes on, there's not Marinos or Elways or Montanas or Brady's. I want it to be Salisbury's jersey.
Have you ever, did you ever sit down and talk quarterbacking with Montana or Elway or Marino?
Oh, yeah. And a lot. Not Joe. Not a lot of times, just like on interviewing him, but every single year I talk with Marino.
Okay.
Fortunately, we sit down and Elway a lot of times, no question.
Okay, but what do you say? Do they look at you, like how do they look at you? Because you didn't play too much in the league, but you did play. I got a big rear end you can kiss, Dan. You know what I tell him, Dan? In truth, I look at Marino and I say, well, I got to train Adam Sandler for the longest yard. You didn't, so screw you. Oh.
And then I look at Elway and I say, well, at Stanford when I was a sophomore at SC and you were a senior, I got you there.
Whoa.
And then I was NFL player. I was NFL Player of the Week at your expense in Denver in a comeback win. So I got you. And then Favre, I never lost to you, and Steve Young, I never lost to you. So those are about my only 3 or 4 wins in the league. So I use that as a crutch. I wasn't very good, but I did play good against a couple of the good ones. But yeah. Oh, the conversation doesn't stay on me long, Dan. It shifts back to Marino, Elway, Young, Favre, and all the great ones. And I was their caddy, basically. But I somehow remember the good stuff and watch more of them play than I did of myself, actually. Studied far more of them than me, trust me.
Well, I always have said that you're one of the better football analysts out there. You have a great eye for looking at these things, certainly at the quarterbacking position. But I can't imagine where Elway's going, no, Sean, wait, tell me more. Like, how did you do it?
Yeah, John doesn't sit down and say, hey, Sean, remember that touchdown pass you threw against us? I wish I could have done that. No. Like I said, it quickly shifts to movies, to, hey, John, when you came back 48 times in your career and beat teams. No, they don't spend a whole lot of time saying, hey, Sean, let's talk X's and O's because I really loved your quick release over Marino. No, it doesn't work like that. No way.
Okay. I mentioned this, that Dak Prescott, my advice to Dak Prescott, not that he's asking for it, but the financial logic I would have is bet on yourself. And with that great offensive line, Amari Cooper and Zeke Elliott in, why not sign a 2-year deal? And let's say we guarantee it for $63 million. New TV deal comes up 2020. You go back into the marketplace, you bet on yourself, and then you sign that big 5-year deal. What do you think of that logic instead of, Dak signing a 5-year contract with the Cowboys?
I love your logic, Dan. I love it. And I personally, I may be in the minority, but I actually think Dak Prescott is the most underrated quarterback in the NFL. And when he came out his year, I had him as the second quarterback on my rankings. He ends up going in the 4th round. The one weakness for me with him is, can you carry a team like Rodgers or Brady or those guys that for 5 or 6 weeks they're Mike Trout? That they can carry a team. Can Dak do it? And right now I think that's the big question mark. But he's pretty accurate underneath. Get better throwing the ball down the field.
But wait, do you think he can? Can he carry a team?
No, right now he can't.
Okay.
That's my thing, is why I can't see $40 million a year. But, hey, ask for the moon. They get a couple stars in the process. I like your style better because the more numbers – see, we're a numbers-driven league. We want Super Bowls, but if you don't give me numbers, oh, my gosh, you're not the quarterback. If you give me numbers and no Super Bowl, well, you're not a winner. We want both. So what it gives him, a top running back, a number 1 receiver, he gets more settled in the offense again. Confidence continues to grow. It's like the Kirk Cousins approach with one last year. Guarantee $60 million. Go do your thing. Throw me a 4,500-yard season and get me deep into the playoffs or a possible Super Bowl doorstep. And now we can talk. And then the money will be bigger than he's asking for now. I do think there's something to prove, but I also think he's extremely disrespected when you look at who you compare him to, all of us. He's not a top 10 guy. But Dak Prescott's a good player. But the one thing holding him back is can you carry a team? If Zeke doesn't play this year, let's say he held out for 6 games, can you get us to 4-2 or 5-1? I think that's the biggest question, Mark, of why people are afraid to pay him that kind of money.
All right, let's say the open market, you can have Dak Prescott or Jared Goff. Same money.
Prescott. Right now I'm concerned about Goff's well coached. I know Sean McVay is one of the best in the world at what he does, but there's some DNA when it comes to closing out games I got to see more of from Goff. Right now, if I have the 2 to lead my team, could Prescott gotten the Rams where Goff did last year? Absolutely, and I'm not sure he would have went away and hid in the Super Bowl like we saw a little bit of the Rams offense. I'll take Prescott over Goff.
All right, Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, same money.
Wentz, in my opinion, has a bigger where there's no ceiling. He's got a bigger potential and places to reach. I think he's an MVP guy. The thing is, though, Dan, if you're not available, it's hard for me to consider you one of the top 5 or 6 guys in the league. Wentz has the ability, but I got to have him on the field.
Yeah.
Dak doesn't miss games. Wentz missed some in his last couple of years, but when he's out there, he is an alarming talent, and he is a through-the-roof guy, great leadership. People love him. I think if you had the same amount of money or even a little, I'd pay Wentz more. If you're telling me who's going to get me to a Super Bowl quicker and play in that Super Bowl, I'd take Wentz first, but I am taking Prescott before Goff.
Talking to Sean Salisbury, joining us, Dan Patrick's show. What do you expect? What do you need to see out of Baker Mayfield this year?
I would like to see those guys playing into mid-January. I love this team. I think they're the best team in the North. I think that the production will match the hype. Now, hype says they're Super Bowl champions, but I think they're going to get close to it because I love his swagger. Danny wins, and when people say break down what you need in a quarterback, when they say, what are the traits? Well, my traits are, number one, are you mentally and emotionally tough enough to handle boos from your own crowd or people throwing stuff at you or the dog peeing on your leg or whatever it is because you've had a bad first half? Can you come out and win for me? He's got that. He's accurate, big arm, swagger. His teammates believe in him. Now, people are going to say, does he overtalk where he's going to be locker room fodder and pin up? That's okay because I think that drives him. He comes at it from a walk-on personality and approach, Dan. There's always a chip on his shoulder. I think he's going to be a star. I think he's going to have a ring on his finger before long. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, they may be looking up at the division champ of the Browns, and I love Pittsburgh, but I love what this team's done and how they're building it, and it starts at that position. This is not fake. You can't be this good and continue to make this many plays. For me, they're a mid-January playoff team and probably a little bit of experience away from being us looking at the February door. They're kind of like the Chiefs were last year. They're close. And now they got a chance to get over the top. I think the Cleveland Browns are on the come, and I think they're going to be very difficult to deal with. Don't blink if they're in the middle of January still playing football.
I'm getting more and more concerned about Andrew Luck here, that it was just a calf, and it was just a calf. And now Jim Irsay, the owner, said, well, it's a small bone in there. Is Andrew Luck starting week 1 against the Chargers?
I hope so, Dan, but I'm going to tell you, this team goes from, and as much as I respect the backup quarterback position because I understand it, with Andrew Luck, they are the division champions in my mind. Without him, now there's 2 or 3 other teams that are set, and we got a legitimate chance. Now, he's not going to miss much time if he does. I think he will start, but I'm with you. With soft tissue. And the captain, we're worried, well, does it creep down to the Achilles? And even though it's on his left leg, which is not his plant leg, you still got the follow through and the finish. And how does that affect accuracy? And remember, Dan, when the shoulder, it's not that big a deal. A year later, he wasn't throwing. So, yeah, I'm concerned. And while people think, well, is it soft tissue and the nagging part of soft tissue? I've been through many surgeries. When they start saying bone and it's not ready, and Dan, I'm not worried about preseason games. What I am worried about is the conditioning and the mind and the mental and the physical part. And he'll work hard and he knows what's going on. But to be able to, we just don't plug him in and day one and say, let's go back and do it again. This team's built for success, long-range success. Yes, I am with you. I'm more concerned now about Andrew Luck than I ever thought I'd be. I thought it was going to be no big deal, time off in camp. This is serious because no Andrew Luck, no playoffs if this is an extended injury for the Indianapolis Colts.
Does your helmet matter that much?
I played when they wore a leather helmet, Dan, and then I played when they wore a Billy Kilmer face mask. I think the comfortability does. You know, you put it on and you get the headache and it starts to pinch, or maybe somebody doesn't like the way the visuals out of it come. I think this is ridiculous. Everybody adjusts just like you do in business, you do in life, you do with rules, you do with salaries, you do with new quarterback. You adjust. This is much ado about nothing. I understand comfort. We all want it to be perfect, the uniform to fit right. But Dan, adjustments. When I played in high school, and you know this, you put suspension helmets. There wasn't anything in them. So then you put on the bike helmet and you pressurize it, and then the next thing and the next thing. Yeah, we'd all like it to fit perfect, but you make a lot of money, about $50 million worth to deal with it. Find a helmet that fits. I don't like the built-in excuse for a great football player. I hate it, as a matter of fact. Yes, it matters. Yes, there's a comfort level, but there's also a point in time we beg our athletes to overcome adversity and to deal with change. Antonio Brown and anybody else has to deal with change. If all the other dudes can do it, you can do it too. And if you don't, if that affects his game, then he's not the type of player or competitor I thought he was and that I think he is. This won't last long, and you knew he wasn't going to retire.
But
football and cash always win.
But these players would take performance over protection. If I said to you that you're going to have a less safer helmet, but you're going to be able to perform better, I'm assuming most of these players would take the performance part of this.
9 out of 10 would say I'll take performance as opposed to 2 extra pounds on my helmet, the extra thickness. Dan, it even gets to the point that when you dress it in the locker room and you put your helmet on and get a look at yourself, some of these helmets, you don't even like the look of it. Honestly, the visual for some guys, man, it doesn't quite fit right like my towel. It doesn't look right. What's it going to look like when I'm running routes? Even that, you are 100% correct. If they said, well, it increases 60% concussion-wise if you wear your old helmet as opposed to the new one, but it's going to feel good, 90% of the players in this league would say, I'll take the comfort and how I look and feel as opposed to that concussion, because it's never going to happen to me. Only injuries happen to somebody else. I agree with him. I'd do the same thing. Give me comfort over protection. I'd probably do the same thing, Dan.
Did you wear a protective cup when you were a backup?
So I did when I went to bars and when I went to dinner. But I did. You know, isn't that the strangest phenomenon in the world? Left fielders in baseball wear cups. The running back running through the line where hands are a-flying and they're Mitch Kupchak and grabbing junk all the time, never cups. And you know what's crazy, Dan? At no time in my career, and I know you're going to make the comment, well, Sean, you weren't on the field enough to get hit where the cup is.
That's true.
At no time in practice or a game have I ever been hit there to where I got a stomach ache like you would when a ball hits you or you get hit wrong.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. I have never watched a player put a cup in football in my life. I don't know one that's ever wore one, and I didn't need one because a clipboard protected me on the sidelines. I didn't need a cup.
And then when you picked out your visor to wear on the sidelines, like how did you choose your visor?
Well, when I had the long – as a matter of fact, I will put mine up against the Ron Duguay mullet. My mullet was the best in the NFL.
Nice.
I can guarantee you in the prime. But I didn't wear the visor. The visor, it just didn't look right. I needed to pull the hat down like a closer in baseball. I was a hat guy. I'm not a Dana Holgorsen Gruden visor guy. I wanted the hat pulled down. Oh, I looked a lot tougher, and that's what I did. Visors are for guys hitting pitching wedges into greens, not for quarterbacks on the sideline.
He's Sean Salisbury, Morning Drive host at Sports Talk 790 in Houston. Always great to talk to you, Sean. Thanks for joining us.
Love being on. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
That's Sean Salisbury.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.